Thanks for joining us at the Clive Barker Podcast. In episode 368, Jose and Ryan are joined by Ed and Nina of Coenobium and Ian Swanson to react to the new Hellraiser trailer and poster. Plus, Ed and Nina have some cool Cenobite news you won't hear anywhere else. This episode is sponsored by Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination. Don Bertram is a longtime friend of Clive and advocate of his art. But Don's unique and inspiring paintings are for sale, and up to 50% of the proceeds go to the Arts and Medicine program at the Texas Children's Cancer Center. Click the side banner and follow the link to his Etsy shop to have a look or buy one of his books. Texas friends, take a look at Don's art at the Pearland Chamber of Commerce exhibit, and Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination was recently also featured in the Hellraiser screening in Grand Rapids, Michigan, by our friend Ian Swanson, who will be on this episode today. Welcome, this is episode 368 of the Clive Barker Podcast. Good evening, Jose.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing tonight?
Good. We have a couple of guests here, also members of our team. Ed Martinez.
Also Nina. Nina's here too.
Oh, hey,
and
Nina.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, just in the background.
And Ian Swanson.
Hey everyone.
How's it going?
Oh, it's great. How are you guys?
Good.
A lot of exciting news on the docket today.
Yeah, so today's kind of a Hellraiser-centric episode. So the first thing I think I wanted to bring up from the news is that if you know Paul T. Taylor, right, who was in Hellraiser Judgment, he was the Pinhead of Hellraiser Judgment. And if you know Paul Kane, who wrote books about Hellraiser, and you know our friends at Little Spark Films, this is a roundabout way of saying that The Torturer is now on Amazon Prime, their movie.
Yeah. The Torturer.
Congratulations.
I know, that's so awesome.
Hey, fun aside, Paul T. Taylor is my longtime friend Jarrett's cousin out here in Grand Rapids, so that's pretty rad.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, no kidding. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So The Torturer, it was on Tubi, then it went to a few other websites, streaming websites.
Plex. Yeah.
Plex, thank you. And now it's on Amazon Prime. And I just saw Paul Kane today post about it, saying, "Hey, now I got two movies based on my stories on Prime. Which one was that? Sacrifice from 2020. But greater delights await us in this episode, right, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You did there.
and before we get on to the Hulu Hellraiser, Ian, you hosted a screening of the original 1987 Hellraiser for the anniversary, and it was a charity screening there in Grand Rapids. So can you tell us about that and how it went?
Yeah, it went fairly okay. Grand Rapids is kind of like a sleepy kind of town. Conservative Democrats predominantly dominate the area. Kind of affects the culture here. It used to be quite a lively town full of rockers and musicians. So everyone was out for a long time at late night. But anyways, that's a moot point. The theater holds something like 350 people. We ended up getting in about 100 people, which is pretty okay. Not what I had hoped for, but, it's whatever. We raised quite a bit of money. We had a shit ton of great raffle prizes from configuration boxes.
Oh, yeah. From Derek Neal.
Yeah, he gave us a Scarlet box signed by Paul T. Taylor to donate to the raffle.
Nice.
Right. So we had a music box from the Pyramid Gallery.
Oh, awesome.
We had Peter Atkins sent us a signed copies of the Hellraiser Chronicles and the 20th anniversary edition of the Hellbound Heart from Earthling Publications. So that was great. There was some pretty diehard Hellraiser fans there, which was great. My longtime friend Heidi Hawk, who's actually credited with first introducing me into Hellraiser beyond just the film. So her ex-boyfriend Dave, who's no longer with us, really introduced me to Clive Barker as the author of The Hellbound Heart. So that was my first foray into knowing anything about Clive Barker beyond the film. So Dave passed away, and I kind of, to myself, I did it as a tribute to Dave, something pretty valuable to me. But I think total we raised about $1,300, a bit more. Other than that, not much. It was a great turnout. Everyone loved the event really well. We had introductions from Don Bertram, who the charity was benefit his work in support of the for Celebrate Imagination, in support of the Arts and Medicine program at the Texas Children Cancer Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And then, so I got to talk to Don for quite a lengthy amount of time, and that was great. And I had a lot of fun communication together with him. Heard some stories and things like that. And Don also offered us an introduction to the film, which is amazing. Send that over to you guys and see if somehow we can somehow get it onto a post-event article about it.
That'd be great.
I don't know do we have that capacity or not on the website.
Yeah.
But we also have okay, sweet. And we also have had a special introduction by Nicholas Vince, who offered to record something for the film to introduce it for the 30th anniversary to people who had never seen it before, as he lovingly likes to refer to them as Hellraiser virgins. It's just pretty funny. And that, and just the joy you see in his face when he calls them Hellraiser virgins, pretty great. And then he also gave a little bit of hindsight into his perspective about some of the queer subtext underpinning Hellraiser, and gave us a little bit of his thoughts and excitement and preparation for the new Hellraiser film.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, it was great. And then, we had one of my hardcore Hellraiser fans, Nicole Sutorp. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name right. She bought a shit ton of raffle tickets. I think she probably spent like a couple $100 on them. And she, at some point, she was winning all the prizes. So this is like the later on towards the drawing when all the good stuff was coming. Oh, I forgot to mention, we had a really special concept sketch, a concept drawing for an unused Cenobite from Hellraiser Hell on Earth by Martin Mercer, which was lovely.
Oh, wow.
And that was really exciting. When I write up the article, I'll include that in the article for the images. It's really great. I think you guys
would all
love to see it.
What does it look like?
Rather than a twin Cenobite, it's a triplet Cenobite. So there's a Cenobite standing up in the middle, and then two Cenobites come out on the sides. One of them is wearing a jester's hat, and I forget exactly anything more other than that, but it's really rad looking, and I think everyone who gets to see it will really enjoy it and say, wow.
Did he say that from back in the day, back when they worked on Hellraiser 3, so it's from the 90s?
Yeah, yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Wow.
And I didn't get a chance to find out who the winner of the prize was, and that was kind of unfortunate because I really wanted to offer that to Martin. And then we also had a Books of Blood lithograph, Clive Barker's cover art, that was hand signed by Clive, that donated to the raffle by Don Bertram, which was rad. And so my friend Nicole won a shit ton of prizes, and she ended up winning. I think she won both of Peter's, at least one of the books signed by Peter. It was definitely the Hellbound Heart. What she had done throughout as she was winning them, that she decided to hand them off to audience members who wouldn't necessarily get anything. So that was great.
Oh, wow.
And then she handed it off to my friend Brandon's young teenage daughter, who was sitting right behind them. She had a story about overhearing a conversation.
Did anyone get the T-shirts?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say there was two great T-shirts sent over from BarkerCast. It was Mark Williams' Hell Priest drawing T-shirt, and then Jose's Baphomet T-shirt, which I really love. Like I gotta get myself one of those. It's amazing.
With the T-shirts, did they get the ones that were there, or are we sending them different size?
No, I just decided to just do the two. It was kind of overwhelming the night. So yeah, I didn't even mention anything about that. So
gotcha.
We're good on that.
Awesome. Sounds like a good time was had by all.
Yeah.
It was amazing. didn't get to really watch the film and experience it myself, which was okay. I would wish I could have seen it, but I did really get a point to check out the engineer scenes, which was pretty lovely for me. Engineer's my favorite character in the whole series. I recorded a little video clip of it screening at the theater, which was awesome.
That's great. Does your video have Steve getting punched in the face by the engineer?
No, I think well, maybe because I did like a little TV version, kind of like when there was a lobby TV. So I kind of did it as like a little setup to when the flower is flickering through the TV with the glitch that's coming through.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's
good
awesome.
idea. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Oh, man.
I love it. I made a full-size one for a haunted house.
Anyway, moving on from that. So I wish I could have been there.
But ironically, wait a minute. Before we move on, you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
the guy who did the engineer with me?
Mhm.
His name was Jeremy Aiello. He's the guy that sculpted the new Pinhead.
Oh, there we
Wow.
go. A little bit of news here. Jeremy Aiello made the Jamie Clayton Pinhead sculpt, apparently. It's really good. And I particularly like the way that their outfits are not outfits. Well, we'll get into that, right? I mean, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you mentioned Nicholas Vince talking about Hellraiser virgins, because usually who goes to these screenings are always like people who have seen this movie like 100 times. But hopefully they will always carry someone in there who might have never seen the movie. So that's a great way to get your friends scarred for life.
I was gonna mention too. Obviously it was mostly like adult white men that came in there, but there was quite a good turnout from people on the margins outside of that. So that was lovely to see as well.
Wow.
So quite a handful of young people of color, great amount of women. Statistically speaking, on that kind of stuff, it was a great turnout.
Well, what were you asking, Ed?
New recruits to the Order of the Gash.
Yeah.
Yes, new recruits.
Hopefully not a whole bunch of young children.
Fresh meat.
We mean like Chatter?
Right, from Hellbound.
You're still coming in a little muffled there, Ed. Just
Yeah.
letting you know, might want to talk a little bit closer to the microphone.
Your mouth. Okay.
Yeah, that's much better. Okay. Yeah, so it's been a very interesting week for Hellraiser fans, right? I mean, we're just a few weeks away from the new Hellraiser opening up on Hulu, and we're getting all these little tidbits of information. I mean, Ryan, we spoke about the teaser trailer a while ago, and everybody's, the internet is blowing up with the new trailer for Hellraiser.
Yeah, the new trailer and the poster. They finally came out with a poster image for the film as well.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, the poster shows her kind of in backlit, so she's sort of in silhouette. So it's a cool looking poster, but it's not as exciting as the trailer, I think.
Or as Hellraiser 1's original Doug Bradley one.
Right. Yeah, that one's kind of more in your face. Yeah,
that's so iconic.
It is.
Oh, speaking of posters, I wanted to acknowledge Anthony Galatis from Athens, Greece. He pulled together some really amazing flyer poster art for us off of Cusa from the original Hellraiser poster of Pinhead that Jose also did a great early mock-up for us as well.
Yeah, no problem.
I want to thank Anthony and also thank Jose at the same time as that.
Yeah, no problem. I like the little reference that Anthony Galactus very subtly did to Psychic TV on the forehead of Pinhead. I don't know if anybody else.
You noticed?
Yeah.
You noticed that, huh?
Yeah.
He said he had two versions. One was the downside cross, and then one was the upside cross. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, what if we did the Psychic TV cross, basically?
Yeah,
and I thought that was a little. Yeah, and it was interesting because I had found an article, something about the angelic bodies, and it was comparison between Ballad of Genesis and Lady J film and Hellraiser, kind of like I was comparing the connective tissue. And the only other film I've ever screened in my life for the public was the Ballad of Genesis and Lady J. So I was like, oh, well, what a crazy coincidence, and so we put that on there.
That's
A
cool.
wonderful tale of body modification and love. Should we do like a breakdown of the trailer here? Or...
Sure, yeah. I mean, if you can remember it all in order.
I got it open right in front of me.
Okay, yeah.
When you're done with that, let's hear an impression of each of your, thoughts of what you think of the impression of the trailer.
Yeah, for sure. So the trailer, of course, opens with the spyglass and the Hulu logo, and we see this zoom into a box, and there's some guy talking to a man called Voight. And we see that the box is also appearing with different configurations in this movie, which is a great throwback to Hellraiser 2, where we see the box take the Leviathan configurations and different
star configurations.
Looks like the house where this is taking place.
In 6, it was a box. I mean, it was a sphere. It was a circle.
Sphere. Yeah, Hellseeker. Right.
Another one of the many designs like in the comics as well.
Yeah.
And the way that the trailer is cut, it makes it seem like every time someone is opening the box or twisting and turning pieces, they're showing sections of the house where this is happening are also kind of opening little secret doors and stuff. So they're in the walls.
Yeah.
I got some theories about this, which I'll get to it when we talk about our impressions. But so there's a guy opening a box talking to a man called Voight, who's played by that guy from he was in
ER.
He was in ER. That's what everybody says. The guy from ER. He is Goran Viznik. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He was, so he was a doctor in ER. He plays Voight, right? So he plays this 1%er guy that's also an occultist. So apparently this house might be his house. But let's continue with the trailer. And so they're opening the box, and the guy says, "Do I get a prize if I open this puzzle box?" And then Voight says, "I do."
Yeah.
Which, very ominously makes it think like, he's just
foreshadowing.
Voight also said that it's mostly opened for you or something like that. It's already mostly done. Like, you just have to finish it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So an interesting element that I found is that if you guys remember Hellworld, those boxes that we saw in Hellworld that looked like cheap imitation boxes, because there was a group of people who apparently liked the Hellraiser box, and they liked the story of Hellraiser, and they were called Hellraisers.
Oh.
And the big party that happens on Hellworld. One of the thing about the box is that the box, when you solved it, it would cut you or pierce you. Some spikes would come out and cut you, right? So it looks like this box, and again, giving a kind of a connection between how blood works with the Hellraiser and the box, and the sacrifice that you need to do. It looks like every time someone is working on the box, it kind of pops up a little blade and it cuts you, and then we see this blood on the box being absorbed into the box. Cut to from the Master of Horror, Clive Barker. And then we see Odessa Zion as Riley. So it looks like she's living on the streets. And she's got some sort of book, which I'm imagining she kind of took from someone. And it's got a whole bunch of stuff about Hellraiser. It's like a little book full of sketches and
lots of and people have freeze framed those, and so you can read about 6 different configurations on there.
Yeah, you can see them, and one of them is called the Leviathan. So it looks like the box is going to have, just like in Hellbound, the box is going to turn itself into like a big lozenge. So I'm looking at the configurations, and one says Lament Life. The other one says Lore, Knowledge. There's another one called Lodorant, Love.
And Lodorant is the one that's in the trailer.
The star. Yeah, there's one that's a star. It's almost like a star position. There's another one called Liminal Sensation, which is kind of like the box turns into a rectangle, of sorts. There's the Lazarus Resurrection.
All kinds of configurations.
Yes. Yeah. And finally, the Leviathan, which is the double diamond. And then there's modes of manipulation. And you could read all this stuff if you freeze frame it. So it's just really exciting.
I noticed there was some stuff on the fakirs in India, too, which is a great throwback to the modern primitives movement back at the time when Piercing Fans International Quarterly was out, which is what, as we know, helped inspire the look of the Cenobites.
Yeah, the Fakir and we interviewed him for Coenobium magazine.
You interviewed who?
Fakir, the guy he's talking about.
Musaffar, Fakir Musaffar.
Yep.
We all went to Burning Man in '96.
Wow.
Wow.
That's great. He has really.
I'm also referencing like the Fakir movement in India too, as well, from way even further back in history.
Of course,
the Thai Pusan,
yeah.
Kind of the ascetics that they can lie on a bed of nails and keep their hands upright and for like a whole year or something, and do all those like weird sacrifices. So
touch on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the suspension stuff too.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, suspensions and all sorts of body modifications. There's that big procession of flagellants that happens in India where they stick like all these needles through their cheeks and they flagellate themselves. And so it looks like the house has an amazing, like elaborate skylight that kind of mimics the shape of the box as well, which I thought was a really cool touch. So from what we see, the glimpses of the house, it looks like this might have, it reminded me of like Bloodline, where we see the building that's inspired by the box. Mm-hmm. It looks like this house is going to be very architecturally connected to the box. So maybe the guy Voight built some sort of like special building to house the box, maybe to summon Leviathan. But anyway, that's just my speculation. So continue.
Well, they call Lemachant the architect too.
Right, exactly. And if you remember on that unproduced Hellraiser 3 script, there was a story with the demonic bordello.
Right, yeah.
There's a house created by Le Marchand where if you manipulate the box, you manipulate sections of the house, which I think I don't know if they got inspired with this movie, but I got a feeling that this is going to be something similar. There's going to be a callback to that.
Well, Pete wrote that.
Right, Pete Atkins, yeah. Riley Odessa Zion says, when you open the box, it cuts you, and the Cenobites come to collect. And then we see someone being dropped into this kind of like rocky tunnel, and we see Mask that we've talked about before, the Cenobite Mask, and then we
see Mask
yeah.
QUE.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I've seen some YouTuber call him Masqué. I was like, that's not Masqué.
Me too.
I did notice that in comparison to the still that came out in the trailer, it looked like they took a little section of his face and stretched it out a little more.
Yeah. It looks like it. Yeah, it does look like around his mouth is a little more stretched out.
Yeah.
But what's cool is that we see Mask standing at a tunnel, and then all of a sudden we see another amazing looking creature, another Cenobite advances, and it's a chattering Cenobite.
Yeah.
It's Chatterer.
It's a Chatterer, and it looks so cool.
He's super tall.
Yeah, he's really tall. I think they got a really tall guy.
He's almost 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
I read that Doug had met him a while back, and
he talked with him.
Started with The Rock, I think. Wasn't it The Rock?
Yes. He plays creatures a lot, so we see some still photos of him on the web.
So what's his name? What's the name of the actor? Because I missed that.
Jason Lyles. L-I-L-E-S.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Okay. And then we see Jamie Clayton with 2 windows behind her, 2 lit up windows, and she's holding the box and she's touching the top of it and she says, "It's time." And it's such a cool shot because when you look at it, people have already tried to lighten up the image to see more detail. And the Cenobites' costumes are made out of their own skin, and she's got these sleeves pulled back, but they're still hanging off of her elbows. And
like bells, like a bell sleeve.
Yeah, it looks so good, so good. So
and what about the skirt? Her legs, they're like a skirt.
I don't think we've seen the legs in the trailer just yet, but another shot that really really put the hairs on my arms standing up was greater delights await. That's still Jamie Clayton as Pinhead talking. And it flashes to the labyrinth with Leviathan floating above it. And it looks so cool.
And with 10 Hellraiser movies, none of them after Hellbound have ever referenced Leviathan or shown it ever again until now.
It's such a shame. Yeah.
Until now.
Maybe Hellseeker has like kind of a sequence where they kind of show the labyrinth a little bit when Joseph Thorne kind of opens a door and there's like a big void outside. But anyway, that's more wishful thinking than actually showing.
Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. So greater delights await, and then we see a temple and we see Leviathan floating over it, and not just that, we have this weird shot which seems to be outside a house where, as the box is being unlocked, something is like sinking the sidewalk outside the house, and it looks like something is like a platform is being lowered, and I wonder if this is like the house is going to be some sort of portal. In any case, so it goes to letters unlock your, and I'm just looking at the trailer right now. Unlock
that was a good
fears.
catch. Nobody else has said anything about that.
I said it looked like the ground fell away.
Yeah. It's and so we see all sorts of like flashbacks. We see like the same book with all the stuff scribbled on it. There's like drawings of people being chained up, and there's drawings of Cenobites and ceremonies and circles of people, and we see a lot of people just screaming and bloody. And then we get this amazing shot from the top of Leviathan looking down onto the labyrinth, and it looks like there's some sort of temple or structure underneath him. It's cool because I always wondered, what would be underneath Leviathan. There had to be some sort of temple there. So I'm glad that they're going with that. And we keep seeing more images of Jamie Clayton as Pinhead, and she's saying, your blood, your fears, all for us. Yeah. So it's like the Cenobites kind of like live off of this thing and kind of extract their energy from this thing, right? So that's
torture.
Yeah. And it's just such an intimidating character. And one of the final shots is Jamie Clayton's Pinhead asking to a person who's being held by chains. She asks, "What is it you pray for?" And then we see the chains coming from behind her, ready to like stretch that person. I'm so stoked by this.
And the chains are much more organic than the old chains. They don't come out straight. They seem to come out like snakes.
Yeah, they kind of like undulate a little bit and stuff. So that is so cool. I'm really.
But there's something else. There's someone else in the trailer. Someone who opens their mouth a bit, but their mouth is missing. Someone with big eyes.
You're talking about the blue one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A new.
Yeah.
There is another one. Yeah, I know. It shows up as a very short flash. Yeah, I'm wondering about that. So I don't know where that would fit, but I guess we can try to speculate about that. So
we have some news that we will drop, but go ahead, everyone. Let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So who wants to go first about their thoughts? Brian, why don't you go first?
Okay, I'll go first. Well, I've watched it probably 4 or 5 times since it came out.
That's all.
Well, yeah, a day. I'm working, but yeah, I can't watch it at work. I'll get in trouble. But yeah, the opening sequence, he's saying, "Do I get a prize if I open this?" And he's like, "Well, I do." He's like, he's not even trying to hide that he's not in it to help this guy at all. It's just like, here you go. I did most of the work for you. Why don't you open the rest of this box? And
very tongue in cheek.
Yeah, and that's kind of tantalizing because it's like, what is he going to get for sending people? Because in Hellbound, you can't trick the Cenobites by making somebody else open the box for you. But here it kind of seems like he's made some sort of a pact with the Cenobites. Yeah,
I think he wants to bring someone back. That's going to be my my idea. That he's probably looking to bring someone back. And so that's just my idea.
And I also love that they zoom in on the side of the puzzle box, right? But then the camera moves over it and you see that it's elongated, like stretched out into this long sort of a brick rectangle thing.
Right, that's one of the configurations.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool touch, and the idea that it changes shape and mass and size when you're manipulating it is really cool. The Cenobite designs are awesome.
The elongated version kind of reminds me of a fleshlight.
Oh.
You never know.
You would,
yeah, right.
So
I did say there was a scene in the trailer where it might be Odessa. She puts her finger in the box. That's where I kind of got that idea from.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put anything in there.
Yeah, that totally threw me. Okay, so hold on. The Pinhead design. So you know they didn't do. We kind of Hellraiser fans kind of know that, right? That they didn't put pins in Doug Bradley. They put nails because the pins weren't showing up on the camera. But here
they did a camera test and found that they weren't showing up. Right?
Yeah, but here they managed to do jeweled pins on this Pinhead character.
Yeah, pearled pins, right?
Yeah, and it looks amazing. I mean, it looks more like what you would imagine the Hellbound Heart if you'd never seen the movie Hellraiser. You know, if your mind wasn't already sort of permeated with the movie, that's what you would imagine when you're reading the book.
Which is a nice touch.
Yeah. I also really appreciate, and we've talked about this a lot of times, but I appreciate that they're not trying to remake the movie Hellraiser. You know, that this is a completely new story with some throwbacks and
new characters.
Yeah, new
characters. Totally
new characters, mostly new Cenobites, right? They're newly designed, new actors. They're similar but different. Yeah, I'm totally excited about this. This is honestly from the minute and a half that we've seen, this is probably the best Hellraiser movie in decades.
Well, I would say the best trailer in decades.
Yeah, you gotta wait to give judgment on the phone.
I'm
you're stoked.
I'm gambling on the fact that the trailer is accurate for the rest of the movie, which I think it is.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Ian, what are you done, Ryan?
Yeah.
Ian, what were your takeaways from the trailer, and what were your impressions?
Oh, my takeaways from the trailer and impressions. Kind of wondering right now, do you think that maybe we might have like some callback to the Cenobites originally being human, or do you think that's kind of out the door with us? That's kind of thought that just popped in my head.
I don't know. Because it's really good, right? When it's a mystery.
I think they still look pretty human. They still look like very humanoid and surgically altered. I'm still betting that these are people who have crossed the barrier and have gone beyond in their searches and have become transformed in a way that transcended their humanity. So I still
the regions of experience.
Yeah, they became these kind of suspended creatures in a alternate dimension of sorts. Yeah. So I'm still thinking that they're. I'm not sure about that blue one with a stretched mouth. That looking at the eyes, they don't look human. They look like a black doll's eyes, like like a shark, like a shark, right?
It looked kind of insect to me as well.
It looks kind of like a humanoid version of the engineer.
There was someone who I don't think we covered it, but there was the ominous figure walking down the hall with the hands on the walls of the corridor. You know what I'm talking about? It was like a all shaded black figure. You didn't really get much of it. Someone had wondered if maybe that was the engineer.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
in this trailer?
I first noticed it through a still. It looked like when the engineer in Hellraiser, when Kersey had first encountered it for the first time, and it was using his hands to walk down the wall.
His hands are on either side. The wall.
Was it just like a frame or two? It sounds like, because I totally didn't see that at all.
Yeah, I saw it in the trailer. It was just a real quick frame.
Wow.
Oh, I see it. Okay. No, I see some guy backlit in a very narrow tunnel, stumbling with his arms on the sides of the tunnel. But I think that's someone running away.
Yeah, It didn't look to me like it was the engineer. It looked kind of just. Well, I thought it might be a Cenobite, but it was.
Could.
It looked like it could be a rep. Yeah, it looked like it could just. To me, it's just kind of like a reference to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Even the tunnels are kind of like arched, right? So just like in the Leviathan, labyrinth, where the tunnels were also kind of arched. So I think that's a good callback.
Well,
I mean, I can't see it, but I've been told, in my interview and stuff too.
I just hope that this comes out on 4K Blu-ray. I can't subscribe to Hulu forever.
Right.
I really want to buy this movie.
I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people on the high seas.
Yeah, that's a last resort. I mean, I'd rather give them my money if I can, but yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Support this.
Yeah.
So that make more.
And then one other thing I noticed was I saw when the blood gets absorbed into the box, it kind of seems like maybe that was a callback or a reference to when Uncle Frank absorbs the blood from the floorboards.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe do we see something coming out of the box in that scene, like Frank coming out of the floorboards? I don't know. Maybe that's the reference to the Voight trying to bring someone back. I'm not sure.
Totally on board with that one. Yeah.
We're all books of blood.
Yep.
That's why we're all red inside.
And expectations on the story? You got any predictions on what this might end up being like, the story?
Well, I could tell you a few things if you want to. I won't give any spoilers.
I do not want to know.
I know that you've got a lot of back knowledge there because you've made a really important interview, which will be coming out soon. Unfortunately, we can't really spoil anything right now, but
I can give you a few tidbits that won't spoil anything.
Okay.
Like, for instance, we know the name of the man who has designed this new box.
Oh,
all right. Let's hear this toy
Simon
maker's
Sace
name.
did, like Simon Sace made the original. So I'm going to let Nina tell you the name of the man.
His name is Martin Emborg, and he is from Copenhagen.
Oh,
Copenhagen.
Fancy.
Wow.
And he's like the Borg.
Okay.
That's
and
great.
We've been communicating with him, and he's pretty cool. So we'll be hopefully following up with him, perhaps an interview specifically with him as well.
Oh, nice.
Wonderful. So now we know who made the makeup for Jamie Clayton's Pinhead, and we know who designed the box for this movie, and they did a great job.
And Ed, right. didn't you say that you and Nina, you guys know the name of the blue Cenobite?
Well, we know the names of all the Cenobites. And now that you guys know from this trailer the names of at least three, Pinhead, Chatterer, and Mask,
There's more than a handful of Cenobites in this movie.
Okay, we're going to drop a couple of other names on you.
Okay.
I think we'll give you, three?
She's not on IMDb, though.
Right. Some of these people's names of these people, the actor who played them, are, we know them too, but they are like, some of them are from Serbia, or, they were actors picked in Serbia, like on location. Like they went from America to go to location in Serbia, and they still hadn't cast as actors several of the Cenobites. So, that was like an ongoing process. And one of the biggest problems that they had, of course, was getting to pick the actors so that the makeup people could get on with, molding them and making the prosthetics and everything. That's the first step. First, you got to pick the actor. And even Jamie Clayton was not picked until like the 11th hour, really caused a lot of problems, for the makeup people, but they did their best.
Right. Yeah. They announced Odessa Zion way before Jamie Clayton, and people were even making blog stories saying that Odessa Zion was Pinhead, which was totally false. But yeah,
everybody was guessing all kinds of things.
Well, yeah. I can give a dropped hint that's sort of on IMDb. So on IMDb, you look at the credits and you scroll down. This is Jason Lyles, and it doesn't say that he's Chatterer, but he's Chatterer. And then there's another name further down, a name Gorica Regodic, the mother. Hint, hint.
Mm-hmm.
She's a new Cenobite.
Oh,
the mother.
A Cenobite called the mother?
Right.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm only saying it because it's on IMDb, the woman's name and the character name.
Okay, and then we'll give you another one. What were those three that we picked that we were going to mention?
Well, Jason Lyles is Chatterer.
And, of course, Pinhead. And, of course, Masky, which is...
Yeah, Vukasin Jovanovic, and I believe they called him Voulet on set.
Yeah, on set they call him Voulet. Voulet, get over here! And he was always off dancing. And then, so we've given you Mother, and now what's another new Cenobite?
I think that the interview with Jamie Clayton, I think she slips her name.
Right, which is, that's Weeper? Is that?
Might be.
Weeper.
There's another Cenobite.
I don't know if we're allowed to say that.
Yeah, we're gonna mention Weeper.
I think that's on that.
Because, I mean, this episode is going to drop on Sunday the 25th.
Yeah.
And, it's only a couple of weeks till the actual show is on TV. So, anyway, Weeper, and then what's one more? Because those names are going to be all over the place. I mean, there'll be Funko Pops of these creatures.
Well, you gave us two names, right? You gave us the Weeper and the Mother.
Right, yes. Right. And I think we're going to give you one more. Which Asphyx.
Uh-huh.
There's one called Asphyx.
But that's not on IMDb.
Asphyx, as in asphyxia?
Right.
Ooh,
okay,
I like
and that's
that.
it.
Is that the blue one?
It could be.
You're the one who doesn't want any spoilers, Ryan. This might be story sensitive.
What's the blue one?
No, I Googled it, and it comes up as a Dutch metal band, though. So that's cool.
But Weeper might have some insectoid traits.
Oh, that might be it. Okay. Interesting. So look, let's recap what we know now. The exclusive things that we're dropping here are that Jeremy Aiello made the makeup for Jamie Clayton's Pinhead. Of course, the Russell's Effects are the company that made all of this. And Jeremy Aiello was hired by the Russells. And also Martin Enborg from Copenhagen. He made the box for this new Hellraiser. So those are two things that you've learned listening to us here today. Those are scoops. Some Barkercast / Coenobium scoops.
Yeah.
And we also are dropping 3 Cenobite names. So the Mother, the Weeper, and Asphyx. And there's more than a half a dozen of Cenobites in this movie. So that's going to be Cenobites galore, because usually we only have like 2 or 3 or 4. And this will come out on Sunday the 25th, and we still have, maybe 10 more days after that? Yeah, around that time. Yeah. What are our expectations for this? Well, what about the Chatterer? What do you think of that new Chatterer? Oh, for sure. I mean, that new Chatterer looks almost like he's armored, right? He's really skinny, but he looks kind of like a tank, to be honest.
At first, I thought his stomach was hollowed out, but it was just a trick of the light. I think he's got sort of these ribbons of flesh going down the middle of his stomach that I thought made it look like it was hollow underneath. But crazy, scary looking design. Now, are you looking at it strictly from the trailer, or have you seen any of those videos where people have lightened everything up? And, no, just the trailer. I'm not going that deep into. I don't like all the brightened up pictures of the Cenobites. I've seen some of those. Yeah, I've seen some of those. It kind of reminds me a little bit so there's the skin of the shoulders, right? So his face doesn't have any features. It doesn't seem to be as disfigured as the original Chatterer was. It seems to be more like a kind of his face is completely featureless except for the mouth. And then his neck and shoulders look okay, but then there's a huge cut, right? Huge cut right below his shoulders that separates from the rest of his body. And it looks like his skin has been pulled out and then re-sewn. And there's all this this major scarification and splayed open abdomen and all sorts of flaps back. And it looks really intimidating. And also, he's really tall, as always. I mean, anything that's... Can you imagine the nightmare for cosplayers? Yeah.
They're going to have to put stilts on to do this chatter.
Oh, yeah, and their outfits would have to be skin tight or maybe painted on.
Right.
I do want to bring up.
Interesting.
I do want to bring up that it looks like they really, really did a great thing in terms of using a lot of practical makeup and practical effects. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of computer CGI in this as well, but for the actual makeups, it looks legit. It looks like legit practical effects, and the way the box changes and the way that the box is an actual like physical object. It looks pretty cool. I'm really happy that they chose to go with a lot of practical effects.
Oh, yeah, they did. I mean, wait till you hear my interview. It's over an hour long, and we go into all the details.
Greater delights await.
Yeah. When do you want to put that up, Ed? I mean, so...
Well, I'm waiting to get permission from them, from Disney, actually. Disney owns Hulu, and like in the UK, this will play on UK's Disney Plus or whatever, their Disney channel is over there. And apparently, Predator Prey was screened on Disney's Plus or whatever over in the UK. And I believe this will end up like that as well. So, the whole world wants this. We're lucky in America that, you guys are going to get to see it on Hulu, but people in New Zealand and, all over the world are going like, when do we get it?
I'm really stoked about this. Like I said before, to me, I'm getting big vibes of Hellbound from this movie. Voight kind of gives me big Chenard vibes.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
The house looks definitely gives me big vibes from the ending of Hellraiser 3, where we have that building that has all the influence from the Lament configuration. So it looks like this house has been designed possibly by Voight to become almost like a mystical construct, right? So that's the idea that I'm getting out of this. And hopefully that helps to hone some of these Cenobites and energies into the house. So maybe he's trying to, like Ryan said, maybe this guy did some sort of pact. And my speculation is he might be trying to bring someone back, because when you give someone to a power, you're trying to get either power back, and in the case of Hellraiser, and the theme of resurrection that we always see, like when blood is used to bring someone back. So I wonder if there's a blood bounty that this Voight is giving to the Cenobites so he can collect someone back from hell. So
that sounds in canon to all the other films and to the Hellbound Heart and everything. Now, I've heard like in certain interviews already, have you guys known about like the that one interview that Jamie Clayton and David Bruckner did? It wasn't a very long interview, but they were talking about all these different people all over the internet are posting stuff right now about this. And some of the hints are that, Clive was talking to David Bruckner. Like my interview, the effects people said that David Bruckner was working on this for like a whole year before they even were called, to start talking about Cenobites. So the thing about the makeup effects is they are all practical. There is a bit of CGI, of course, enhancement, and like that labyrinth shot you saw. I'm sure that's a callback to the original matte paintings, in the second film. But now they have CGI, so they can make things move like clouds and stuff that they couldn't afford to do back in the old Hellbound days.
Yeah, in that interview, Bruckner, the interview that came out with Jamie Clayton and David Bruckner on this channel called 2Fab, he said that there were many iterations of the Hell Priest, and I particularly like the fact that he said Hell Priest, and that there were also a lot of Cenobites that they weren't able to use. But Josh and Sierra Russell, a makeup effects team, they keep talking about the Russells,
Sierra and Josh.
She goes into her experience working with them and the makeup and the costumes that they created. So it's a really cool interview.
It was good that they kept all of those other iterations under wraps, and they kept all of this stuff under wraps until like recently, right? And so, and not like
it's literally days away. You can count the days now.
not like in 2007 when there was that Hellraiser remake stuff going on and Project Angel, and it's like, here's the new Pinhead, and everybody's like, what is that?
Right. It's a pitch for a Pinhead, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, that was one of the remake ones, the Patrick Lussier one, I think, that didn't happen.
Yeah, somebody, I think Gary Tunnicliffe did a makeup on somebody at Monsterpalooza or something of that particular one.
Oh, wow.
Because photos got out about it, I guess. But anyways, the thing about those pearl pins is they are definitely pearls. And, they're just like with Hellraiser 1, when they had to come up with a smaller, like the pins were small to begin with. And when they did they did a video or, photography test, they discovered that they didn't photograph well and they needed to make them like nail heads. Mm. Well, this movie had a similar situation where they started out with a certain size of pearl head. And when they videoed or photographed it or whatever, they said like, those are too big. We need to make them smaller.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and I think it was the same with the puzzle box in the original Hellraiser too, right? They couldn't make one that was just solid black because it didn't look like much of anything on film.
Right, the way that the Hellbound Heart was written.
Yeah.
I like that David Bruckner in that interview mentioned, I think he's really grappled the essence of the Cenobites, because he said something like, these Cenobites, we were thinking about skin as leather, and then, their wounds are constantly fresh, and they're always kind of like all their nerves are screaming, and they're kind of gliding on that feeling, and it gives them this sensation of zen. And I'm like, yep, that's pretty much what the Cenobites, should be like. Wow. So I think he's really grappled onto that concept pretty well. So I got a really good feeling about this.
Yeah, everybody does. I mean, of course I'm blind, but I'm home all day long and I'm using YouTube a lot, and I'm able to listen to all these people doing all these, reaction videos to the trailer. Mm. And I've had nothing but good responses. Like, everybody's raving about it. And I mean, these are people, these YouTubers are getting like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 views. And just nothing but thumbs up and positive. Like, Nina's been reading the comments to me on some of these videos, and they're just like, I can hardly wait. This looks great. Oh my God. Just wonderful comments,
Another thing I want to bring up is that I'm particularly interested in knowing what's going to happen in terms of like how Leviathan is going to be presented, because they don't mention his name in the trailer, but he does show up, or it shows up. And in Hellraiser 3, we had Cenobites that did have appliances and stuff, mechanical parts in their bodies. Not the best Cenobites in the franchise, but I feel like this one...
Right, like Camera Head.
Camera Head or CD or, whatever. But in this one, they seem to have also, as well as their scars and wounds and, scarifications and whatever, they have, like, the Hell Priest, like Jamie Clayton's Pinhead, has these things like inserted in her throat that kind of like. Oh, also, what did you guys think about the voice that she has?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it kind of reminded me of the Bafflegab Hell Priest.
Oh yeah.
In some respect.
And it made me think a little bit of Clive Barker's reading of the character too on the audio book.
Audio book. Right.
What city is this?
What city is this?
Yeah.
Well, it was a little more absent, a little more vacant.
Clive's voice for it was pretty funny. Yeah. I mean, not bad funny. I mean, amusing because I know him,
Right.
The voice he used for that was mostly sounded like a vacant kind of personality. Like there was no emotion, there was no inflection.
I mean, even the writing of the story says it's like a girl, like a little girl or something, like a breathy girl.
Yeah.
So I just wish that, and this is not a complaint, this is just personal preference. I just think they put a lot of effects on the voice. So some things I was kind of finding it a little unclear in exactly what she said the first time I saw it, but I like the voice. It has this this high component and low component at the same time, right? It has this weird amplitude, like it's two different voices coming through the same
like
throat.
it's buzzing sort of in between.
Yeah. And she's got this weird device on her neck, on the wound in her neck. So Mask also seems to have all sorts of like weird surgical instruments implanted into his body. So
let me give you another little tidbit. It's called Leviathan Tech.
Yeah. Oh. So that sounds interesting.
So the new catchphrase is Leviathan Tech, and it's all the Cenobites have some sort of Leviathan Tech.
Oh.
That is very interesting because that kind of takes us to this weird like clockwork idea, right? Like this
exactly
clockwork technology that not just the box. When we think about the box and pieces twisting, turning, a configuration, a musical box or whatever it is. I don't know if this is going to be musical, but a musical box. But what's inside of it? Clockwork, right? So there's always been this idea that what's inside Leviathan and how does
how does it work?
How does he connect to his servants, right?
Yeah.
And I'm interested in knowing what that Leviathan tech will be able to do. I'm sure we're not going to see a bunch of Cenobites turn into a giant robot monster, but
like
Transform.
Devastator,
like Devastator.
Get in the middle.
Yeah.
Or they meet the eye.
Pinhead on top.
Oh God.
But I think it definitely.
When they make all the action figures, we can build our own.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just need duct tape.
Knee bone's connected to the thigh bone. The thigh bone's connected to the Leviathan tech.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm glad that they're taking that approach. That Leviathan's clockwork technology is also implanted in the Cenobites. So we'll see where that takes us.
Right.
I
hope I've enticed you with these little clues and hints.
Did the Jamie Clayton Pinhead have a little miniature puzzle box in her neck?
It's part of the puzzle box. I think if you look at the photos and stuff like that, it's kind of like the circular part of the center of the puzzle box.
Yeah. Yes.
It kind of looks like that, I think.
Yeah. I thought that was really a really cool, interesting touch.
Yeah,
yes,
so
and that with the pearl pins and that, I mean, that's interesting.
It's pearl pins holding Chatterer's seam together.
Yeah, all the Cenobites have at least some of those pearl pins in various size heads of pearl.
Oh.
We should try to get David Bruckner and Jamie Clayton to Zoom with us. That would be a tremendous thing if we could get that done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the situation is with them per se, because it appears that they are going around doing interviews right now. Like they got that one that we are talking about, and it was only like a 5-minute interview, but it was a Zoom call, and I'm going to ask my effects guys, if when they get in contact, like what they're doing right now is trying to get the studio, the Disney people, to okay this interview. They've got a copy of the audio and they're submitting it for the approval and everything. And once they, this, I don't think it's going to be a problem at all, because, Disney only cares about the actors and the director and, the kind of stuff that you would like if it were a straight movie, like to put on Good Morning America or on the Letterman, on late night or whatever. They don't really care about the effects stuff so much. This is a real hardcore nuts and bolts, how they did the effects, what I mean? My interview.
That sounds like it's going to be fascinating. Yeah.
And I'm getting all this information, like about who did all the makeup, like in other words, what sculptor did what character and what actor played that character. And over in the other country, right. We've given Jeremy's name now, the Russells hired Jeremy to sculpt, the female Pinhead, and the Chatterer was done by Mikey Rotella. He was the sculptor who sculpted the Chatterer's head.
Another little tidbit of information. You heard it here, folks.
Right. Heard it here first.
So here's another thing that came out. Lakeshore Records shared a 1-minute sneak peek of Ben Lovett's score for the Hellraiser movie. So it's just a short video, but you can find it on YouTube. I think we'll add a link to that to the show notes. You can hear that little snippet of music. It's just 1 minute, but I I thought it was really, really good. Did you guys notice in the trailer, at the beginning of the trailer, you get like a couple of notes from the original Hellraiser?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's very reminiscent. Very reminiscent. I like it.
I heard that well as well.
Yeah, that was a real good callback. I thought that really tugged at my heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame some fans that I've been listening to some of their, reaction videos and stuff. There are people out there who are like crying and, going, oh my God. They are really loving this trailer.
Here's my take on reaction videos. I know I'm going to be a bit of a jaded, miserable guy now, but reaction videos, I think, are both the bane of YouTube, but they're also like the meat and potatoes of a lot of YouTubers. So I understand why they exist.
Well, the thing that bugs me is that a lot of them seem to be like, well, I assumed this movie was going to be trash, but it's actually not that bad. Or no, I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. It's like, why'd you think it was going to be? Who said it was going to be trash? Why are you doing that?
Well, they judge it on all the bad ones in the series,
Well, yeah. Well, and also there's a lot of people that didn't like the casting,
Right. Well, as far as the gender bending and all that sort of
exactly.
thing.
It's woke Hellraiser.
It's woke Hellraiser.
But if they only knew, if they were only hardcore Clive Barker fans, then they would understand from the very beginning the Books of Bloods, the Hellbound Heart, from Clive himself. If they know anything about Clive himself, then that wouldn't even be something.
It's a ridiculous, but there's been a lot of that kind of arguing on Facebook and whatnot.
It's the culture wars, Ryan. It's the culture wars. So here's a couple of things
excited. I'm happy and I'm excited that we all have something new to bond behind together. And if it's good, we can all enjoy it and say, right on, let's see another one, keep going.
Yeah. Well, if we can take 2 years to talk about Nightbreed, then we can spend October talking about Hellraiser Hulu.
Right. Now, right after it screens, we should do a roundtable discussion episode.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to do that. Here's a couple of things, though, that I really need to happen so I can be happy with this one. Of course, this is still
Are you setting yourself up for disappointment?
No, I'm not. But it's like, come on, man. We've been burned so many times on a lot of stuff. I'm just saying, one, I hope that Jamie Clayton is willing to reprise her role if they make other movies. Okay.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
That might even be in a contract already.
I don't know. I mean, nowadays it's like, things like Dune Part 1 comes out and they're like, we don't know if we're going to make a Part 2, only if this makes money. So, I mean, I don't know.
And that was only a small part of the story. That's a pretty lousy thing for them to say.
Yeah, the fact that movies like the recent Halloween trilogy with Halloween Ends going to premiere pretty soon, that they made a complete trilogy, of Halloween movies.
Before they even released the first in the trilogy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they were shot back to back, but I mean, I guess they planned it that way. But it makes me believe that every time, when you go back a few years, every time they've made like a reboot of a major horror franchise, they made the reboot and then nothing else happened, right? I mean, that happened with Friday the 13th, maybe for other reasons.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street, that happened, and then nobody else made any other movies. So I just want this to be, I don't want it to...
The start of something new, the start of something beautiful.
I don't need it to go on for another, 8 sequels. But if they could just make, this movie, and then maybe a couple more, and have it be a nice trilogy of movies that would really make justice to Hellraiser. That would make me so happy. But for that, we need to know whether or not Jamie Clayton would come back, or if they just want to make an anthology episodic kind of movie series, where we're going to have different, but I don't think that's going to be the case because just the Pinhead character is so iconic. They really can't do that. I think they would have to bring Jamie Clayton again for a next sequel. But here, look at me. I'm talking about sequels. We haven't even seen this movie,
Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see if this one's good and if everybody likes it and stuff. Maybe the way that this film will play out is that you don't need a Pinhead again. You don't need to have the same Cenobites every single time. Maybe this will be more like the comic books, where toward the end we see like, okay, they've opened up the lore. Now we see that, the world of Leviathan is many splendored thing,
Right. I hope. But it seems like the movie studios feel like it's a risk to make a Hellraiser movie without... You got to have Pinhead and the puzzle box. Those are like the two things that every movie has to have.
Well, though, this one does, but Clive has got the rights back.
Yeah.
Maybe he can help steer things, in the direction that we're all talking about, like more like what the comic books did. Like, the next one could be a medieval Hellraiser, or it takes place on another planet, with aliens.
I just imagined Jamie Clayton with a pair of red hot tongs saying, "I'm gonna go medieval on your ass."
Right.
Anyway, so I'm happy that Leviathan is in this movie. So I'm really happy that, and I hope that that's going to be expanding on the lore a little bit. You mentioned Leviathan tech. I'm on board with that. I want to see.
And
what
David Bruckner in that interview mentioned that he had a photograph of Jamie against the wall of the stone wall of the labyrinth. So it sounds like they built full-size labyrinth sets.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So all in all, this trailer, I thought it was really amazing. I watched it at a restaurant. I saw a message from one of our friends, Joe Manco, said, "Trailer's up." And I was in a restaurant with my wife, and I was like, my phone had broken because I bought a new phone recently. But I was like, I told my wife, "Okay, go on your phone, look for your YouTube trailer for Hellraiser." And we watched it, both of us, on the restaurant. And we were just, the waiter came over and he was just like, "You guys ready to order?" Like, "Give me just a second." We were just watching the trailer.
Get out of here!
That's a good one.
Get out of here! Get out of here! And it was great. I was like, "Oh man, I got to get home and watch this on a big screen." And it was all that I expected.
I'm glad you said those words, big screen, because I'm thinking that, how they do those Fathom events where it's not. I'm thinking if this movie turns out to be as good as everybody's hoping, maybe they will be able to put it on a big screen for special events.
That would be nice.
Your lips to God's eyes.
Yeah.
God's eyes?
My blind eyes to God's lips. Well,
I'm tired.
Get out of God's eyes.
You should see the world through my eyes. Yeah. So,
gentlemen, I think we've covered it.
Yeah, me too. I think, Ian, thanks for joining us for this and for all your work in setting up that awesome Hellraiser charity screening in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
You got it.
Yeah, it's great to be. It's great to be on the episode with you. I've known about Coenobium for a long time. Way back when I first learned Hellbound Heart was a novella. I also learned about Coenobium at the first time. I think I told you about.
Yes. This is my, just continuing of my journalism, like from Coenobium, and, I've written for Cinefex magazine and for Sci-Fi Fantasy Models and all kinds of stuff. I'm such a special effects nerd that, I just can't help it.
And thanks, Ed and Nina, for joining us as well as usual. Your input
thank you, Nina.
You're welcome.
Your
I just want to say it's 30 years this October since Ed and I
met.
Yeah. And Doug Bradley announced. It was in Chicago, and Doug Bradley was announcing that Hellraiser 3 was finally completed filming. It hadn't been released yet.
Oh my God, that was 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And we have video footage that we're editing that we're going to drop on our YouTube channel soon of all kinds of these things, with clips of, Doug Bradley talking about Hellraiser 3 on stage when it was just completed and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Oh, hey, while you're still here, how long ago was it that Coenobium first started? I don't have that reference in front of me right now.
Well, Nina and my anniversary of meeting is coming up 30 years, so it was longer than 30 years. It was.
You guys were on issue 5, I think.
Yeah, we were about on issue 5 when we met, and so I think we started. Issue 0 was like when Hellraiser, the first Hellraiser, was just still in the theaters but leaving the theaters.
So 1987
Okay.
then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or 88, you know. Like Diane took issue 0 to a Fangoria Weekend of Horrors hot off the presses, and ran into Doug and Clive and all them right away.
Is there any chance that we'll ever see like a published complete collection of Coenobium?
It's a possibility. We've talked about stuff like that, but because of my blindness, you know, these projects, you know, like that are on the back burner. I've got a million other projects. We've got so much video footage, and, you know, of course I'm blind, but Nina's doing all this editing, you know, with my input, and we're putting together, you know, this new interview, which is with the video. We're making all the visuals that will go along with this. It's going to be kind of like a mini documentary on the making of the new.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Oh.
To say nothing of, I recovered some bloodline behind the scenes stuff that's also pretty juicy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've even considered writing a book, like perhaps about like the history of all the Pinheads makeup, like from one to this most recent one, you know, with in detail and photos, rare photos and stuff.
You guys need clones.
Yes. Or we need to get enough money that we could hire some helpers.
We need a Frodo.
Yeah.
Well,
We're
you could
Bilbo's
always,
looking for a Frodo.
yeah.
We need some elves, some Keebler elves to come and make shoes for us in the middle of the night.
You guys are missing a chance to say that you need to summon some Cenobites to help you out, but
oh no, thank
then
you.
the book might be ended
Yeah.
up written in human skin, so that would be a problem.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
But this
Well,
was
thanks.
fun, you guys. This was a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so
And
much for
we love
joining us.
being able to drop these little tidbits of
Yeah.
knowledge.
Well, first we want to say what's coming next. Jericho Squad episode. We'll be also doing an art episode, Visions of Heaven and Hell, and our last A to Z commentary, Z for Zombie. So I think we're going to be talking about Dawn of the Dead, and we talked about adding some more to that as well.
And in there somewhere will be the episode where we introduce my interview and drop that.
Yes, there's that, and we're also going to do, I forgot, we're also going to do the Hulu Hellraiser spoiler-free discussion soon after it comes out, and then we're going to do the audio commentary after that, once more people have had a chance to see it. Yeah.
And I'll be working on a post-event article about the 35th here.
Oh,
Well,
awesome.
hopefully.
That'll be great.
Yeah, the blog needs more.
Yeah, it does.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you all have a great evening. Thanks for joining us for this hellorific episode. And this podcast having no beginning will have no end.
Hellorific.
Leviathan
Shut up.
Peckish. Leviathan Peckish.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. Watch for our annual Kickstarter fundraisers to get some cool stuff, and you can buy t-shirts on our TeePublic store. Go to tpublic.com and search for BarkerCast.
Thanks for listening.